Hi guys, today I'm going to just give a quick explanation on a concept that most programmers probably should know, but due to a lot of these languages such as Node, Angular, React, and being that they're non-type-safe, I've noticed that newer programmers aren't grasping this concept, which will hinder them when they do go into type-safe languages, and it may be something they just want to know in general. This concept is the different ways of passing parameters to functions. The two main ways to pass parameters to functions is by value and by reference. Languages such as C# include a third one called out, which is the same as passing by reference, but it ensures that the parameter that you're passing in must be declared inside of the method before exiting the method. That will cause a compilation error if not addressed. So let me run through this code real quick before we run it. These lines here just set our integers. We're using 3 different integers with 3 different values as an example. The reason I've decided to use 3 different values is just to keep track of the output as we go through the code. Integer 1 is 10, integer 2 is 20, and integer 3 is 30. This next line of code will just display a string on the console, showing us what the variables were before we called the 3 methods. Next, we have my 3 methods or functions. We have example 1, passing an integer. We have example 2, passing an integer 2 with the ref keyword, and we have example 3, passing integer 3 with the out keyword. Example 1 is going to pass integer 1 by value, which is the default or normal way, as it were. Example 2 is going to pass integer 2, but because of this keyword ref, we're going to pass the integer 2 by reference. In example 3, we're going to pass integer 3, but because of the keyword out, we're going to pass the variable with the out method, which, as I said earlier, is very similar to ref, but it has a slight difference in its implementation. The final line here, or the penultimate line, is just another string which will show us the current value of the integers after running these 3 methods, and this final line is just here so my console stays alive until I press a key. Let me go through each method with you guys before we run the code. So in example 1, we take in a parameter of an integer called value. Here we are taking the parameter the normal way, the default way. This is by value. This means that we take the value of the original variable. So the original variable stays protected and remains as previously set. So when the compiler is looking at this, or when the computer is looking at this variable, it goes to the pointer reference object and just extracts the value and passes the value along. When we set the value over here, we actually create a new pointer reference object. So by changing the value here, we do not change the value in here. Integer 1 will remain 10. In example 2, we have the ref keyword, which means we are passing an integer parameter named value in by reference. What this basically means, we pass through the variable, or more accurately, we pass through the pointer referenced object. The original variable actually changes when we alter its value in a method. So when we pass in our value, what we are passing in, because we passed in integer 2, which started as 20, we are actually passing in the entire integer 2 object. So when we alter the value here, we are actually going to alter the value of the pointer object of integer 2. So the value of integer 2 will actually change to 500. here. So if we were to use this again later, the value will now be 500. Finally, we have example 3 with the out keyword. This also takes in an integer name value, but this uses the out keyword. And what this basically means is it's very similar to ByRef, but it has one major difference. The difference of this one is it has definitive assessment rules. This means that before an out variable must be definitely assigned before the function exits. So if we were to comment this out, we will receive an error. The out parameter value must be assigned to before control leaves the current method. Whereas by reference, it's perfectly fine to comment it out. What out does is it just ensures that you have actually worked with it and you've changed it, so you are fully aware that you've modified a variable. Also, it saves you from passing a variable that you did not need to pass in the first place, because if you haven't altered it, you haven't used it. Let me give you a quick demonstration. Just going to move this over so we can put it against the code and we can actually see the differences. So as you can see, integer 1 started at 10, integer 2 started at 20, and integer 3 started at 30. After running 3 functions, integer 1 is now 10, which is the same as we started with. Integer 2 is now 500, and integer 3 is now 5,000. If we come over and look, this goes to what we expected. Because we passed parameter 1 as a value into the first function, the variable did not change. The value of the variable did not change. But in example 2 and 3, because we used ByRef and ByOut, the variable value actually changed on the actual literal variable. Same with the integer 3. Although it is common to use, very common to use ByVal, occasionally a programmer may want to use ByRef or even out. These can be useful and have their place, but programmers need to be careful when they alter these values, as they will change the variable across the entire program. This can have adverse effects if the programmer is not careful or mindful of what they are doing. The out is slightly better, as it ensures that you've actually used the variable in your code and you haven't passed something unnecessarily, and also ensures that you haven't accidentally made changes you didn't want because of the explicitness of the function. I hope this helps everyone who doesn't understand this concept, and if you have any more questions or you'd like to see me explain any other concepts, please leave a comment below, like this video, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for watching. Bye.